Corey Feldman made millions as a child star, but by age 15, he only had $40,000 left. His parents had stolen the rest, but there was another payment they couldn't touch: a secret $100,000 check from a major studio. It came with one condition: Feldman could never speak about what happened during the filming of a blockbuster movie. The legal document expired last month. For the first time in nearly 4 decades, Feldman can tell the truth. What the studio paid to hide will shock you. This goes beyond Hollywood. It goes to the very top. Corey Scott Feldman was born on July 16, 1971, in Reseda, California, into a family that looked like it had Hollywood connections, but was actually built on silence and survival. His father, Bob Feldman, had once tasted success in the 1960s as a songwriter. He co-wrote "My Boyfriend's Back" and "I Want Candy," songs that earned big royalties. But by the time Corey was born, those checks were getting smaller, and Bob's music career had almost vanished. His mother, Sheila, had worked at the Playboy Club as a waitress and later took up cocktail shifts. But the real plan wasn't about drinks or songs anymore. It was about turning their second child into a full-time money machine. Corey was only 3 when the plan began. In 1974, he starred in what was described as a Clio Award-winning McDonald's commercial, though later it turned out to be a 1976 gift certificate ad, filmed when he was 5. Either way, it showed a little boy with big eyes unwrapping fast food joy, and that single commercial became the start of something huge. More than 100 commercials followed before Corey even turned 10. His face was everywhere, his energy perfect for the growing world of child-led ads. Casting directors couldn't get enough. It was a moment of success that should have belonged to a child's scrapbook. Instead, Corey would later say he felt like a slave child. He didn't choose the spotlight, he was pushed in. At home, things were darker than anyone could see. When Corey was 4, his mother started bleaching his hair with peroxide and handing him pills she called caffeine, but which were really diet drugs. He was small, anxious, and sweating, and when he looked in the mirror, she told him he was fat and ugly. She hit him for no reason, calling it punishment on general principles. She once smeared acne cream on his face while he was asleep. His father, mostly absent, would beat him with a belt or tie him to a bedpost if he missed school for auditions, and his grades dropped. While Corey brought in money, his parents hired a full-time maid and told him not to ride his bike because an injury might cost them a casting. He was a child earning adult money, and every dollar was watched like a paycheck. By the time he was 15, Corey had earned just over $1 million. But when he got his hands on his financial records during legal emancipation, he found only $40,000 left. The rest was gone. His parents had spent it on a Mercedes, a Cadillac, domestic help, and their lifestyle, while he slept on a pull-out bed. His father even asked for the remaining $40,000 as compensation for managing Corey's career. To finally break free, Corey gave them every last cent. He walked away with legal freedom, but not a dollar in his pocket. At 15 years old, he was legally alone and flat broke. He called it his personal emancipation proclamation. His story would go on to inspire others like Drew Barrymore and Macaulay Culkin to legally break free, too. The drive behind all this wasn't love or pride, it was desperation. Bob Feldman's royalties had dried up. Sheila's jobs weren't enough. So they packed up Corey and his sister Mindy in a beat-up station wagon and chased auditions across town. Mindy booked a spot on a reboot of the Mickey Mouse Club, but Corey showed more spark. He got a regular part on the Bad News Bears TV series, and the family shifted all focus to him. As soon as the paychecks came in, the parents upgraded the cars, hired help, and continued living off their son while keeping him in plain clothes and tight rules. The harder he worked, the more they took. and the more he wanted out. In 1978, at just 7 years old, Corey appeared on Mork and Mindy. He played a curious neighborhood kid who bounced off Robin Williams's wild alien energy. Williams kept improvising, throwing Corey off script, making him laugh until the takes had to stop. Corey earned $500 for the role, which was good money for a child then. Williams told the producers that the kid had real spark. That moment opened more doors. In 1979, Corey got cast as Ricky Drummond on the Bad News Bears TV show. It lasted 26 episodes. He earned $1,500 per episode, a total of $39,000 that year. He was only 8. He had to master baseball stunts, learn to slide into bases, and play scrappy and streetwise while still going to elementary school. He'd show up to class with grass stains and bruises, and teachers began quietly worrying about what might be going on at home. That same year, he stepped into the world of movies with a role in the film Time After Time. He played a kid caught in the modern-day chase of Jack the Ripper. The director chose him after watching his TV work and was impressed with his ability to act scared without overdoing it. Corey earned $20,500 for the part and had to run through dark alleys while being chased by David Warner, who stayed in character between takes to keep the fear real. Corey never complained. Not once. By 1981, he was 10 and recording for Disney. He voiced young Copper in The Fox and the Hound. It took 20 recording sessions over 6 months. He earned $15,000. His voice had to stay consistent even as puberty started to creep in. He worked with Mickey Rooney, who voiced the Fox, and learned how to act with just a microphone. The animators even watched Corey's face as he recorded to match Copper's emotions to his expressions. The film made over $63 million, and people praised Corey's performance for its honesty and warmth. Before that Disney role, he'd already shown up on shows like 8 is Enough and Alice. On 8 is Enough, he played a kid desperate to be adopted. He had to cry on cue more than once. The audience cried too. He was only 6 when he did Alice and managed to pull off sadness without sounding fake. Directors saw it. He didn't need lessons. He just knew how to feel in front of a camera. By 1984, Corey was 12. That year changed everything. He was cast as Tommy Jarvis in Friday the 13th, the final chapter. He became the youngest character ever to defeat Jason Voorhees. The shoot lasted from October 1983 to January 1984, across Topanga Canyon, Newhall, and Zaca Lake. Nights dropped to 40 degrees. Corey played a horror nerd who turned the tables on Jason by making himself look like a younger version of the killer. In the end, he hacked him with a machete, screaming as blood poured. That scream made him famous. But behind the scenes, it was rough. He was juggling middle school and 14-hour film days. The pressure never stopped. He returned a year later in A New Beginning, now 13 years old, and playing a traumatized teen locked in an institution. The set was cold. Ice water was dumped on him for rain scenes. The director kept yelling that he couldn't act. Corey hated every moment. He had to keep his eyes open in freezing water. His PTSD scenes were intense. He didn't feel safe. On top of that, the man playing Jason, stunt actor Ted White, hated him. He later said he wanted to kill him desperately because he thought Corey was a brat. In one scene, White scared Corey so badly that he cried for half an hour. Still, when another actress got hypothermia during filming, White defended the cast and threatened to walk if they didn't treat them better. Years later, Corey and White met again at horror conventions. They hugged like long-lost family. Corey made $50,000 for that first Jason movie. By 15, he had earned $1 million, though most of it was stolen. That same year, he was legally free from his parents. In his 2013 book, Choreography, He said the horror roles gave him nightmares. The real horror wasn't the mask or the blood, it was what Hollywood did to kids. He wrote about the drugs, the assaults, the manipulation, and how the work never stopped. He was arrested 3 times for drugs. He went to rehab for 9 months, but the pain stayed. Corey Feldman was just 12 when he landed the role of Pete Fontaine in Gremlins. It happened in October 1983, after a rushed audition where he beat out more than 200 other kids. He had to work with over 30 different gizmo puppets, each one weighing about 15 pounds. Teams of puppeteers hid under the sets just to make them move. Corey worked 12-hour days for 6 straight weeks and earned $25,000 for it. One scene where he feeds Gizmo took 18 takes because the puppet kept glitching and spitting fake food on his shirt. But director Joe Dante noticed how naturally Corey reacted to all the puppet mess. He liked it so much that he gave Corey more screen time, expanding it from 8 minutes to 15. The movie ended up making $153 million worldwide, launching Corey into the spotlight. But behind the scenes, all those hours with the animatronics gave him a fear that stayed with him for years, making him avoid similar work later. The next year, Corey was 13 when he was cast as Mouth in the Goonies. He made $75,000 for 4 months of shooting in Astoria, Oregon, during one of the coldest winters in years. His sarcastic lines weren't even fully scripted. He made up most of them on set. The scene where he pretends to translate Spanish to the housekeeper took 12 takes because the actress kept breaking down laughing. The cave scenes were brutal. They were filmed in real Oregon coastal caves with temperatures dropping to 40 degrees, and some actors got hypothermia. But Corey helped speed things up. When dialogue-heavy scenes dragged out to 15 takes, his quick thinking would cut them down to just 5. He clicked so well with Sean Astin and Jeff Cohen that their friendship on screen was exactly how it felt behind the scenes. Then came disaster. In February 1985, heavy Pacific Northwest storms triggered mudslides that buried 3 key exterior sets. Filming stopped for 8 days. It added $2.3 million to the budget. While most of the crew grew frustrated, Corey became the one holding it all together. He pulled pranks to lighten the mood. The biggest one was planting 47 fake spiders inside Sean Astin's trailer. Sean wouldn't go inside for 2 days. Real rats ended up invading the pirate ship set too, but instead of panicking, Corey made traps and caught them himself. He even got paid an extra $500 for that. The famous wishing well scene had to be shot again because the original footage got water damaged. The whole cast came back for 3 more weeks, unpaid. Studio executives saw how professional Corey stayed through all of it and started offering him more major roles. Back on the Gremlins set, things got even more technical. The film used 106 puppeteers working in shifts. Corey learned to watch for their shadows to guess when each puppet would move. In one scene where his character finds Gizmo's offspring, 14 different puppets were moving at once, all controlled from under the floor. Corey got so good at syncing his reactions that Dante used his timing as the base for how they programmed the puppets later. During the feeding scene, when the puppets didn't respond right, Corey threw popcorn at them. It was unscripted, but it worked, so they kept it in the final cut. Before filming, he trained for 3 weeks just to learn how to work with the puppet crew. Because of that, he got a rare credit as a technical advisor. The techniques he helped develop are still used in puppet-heavy films today. The Goonies became a hit, making $61.5 million in the US and $125 million globally off a $19 million budget. Corey's $75,000 pay looked great on paper, but after his agent, manager, and the Coogan Law Trust Fund took their cuts, he got only $45,000. His parents spent $30,000 of that on house bills and his mother's medical costs, leaving him with $15,000. Meanwhile, the film made over $200 million from toys and licensing. But child actors weren't paid anything from that. Corey saw his adult co-stars get big checks from back-end deals, while he got just $47 each time the movie aired on TV. That gap taught him early how unfair Hollywood could be, and it pushed him toward fighting for child actor rights years later. Decades later, something strange happened. In 2021, just before his 50th birthday, Corey decided to auction off the prosthetic ear he wore in Stand By Me. The prop showed the scars from where his character Teddy Duchamp had been burned by his father. Jordan Peele bought it, but wouldn't say how much he paid. He later joked about it on Seth Meyers' show, admitting he creepily bought it. Corey made fun of it too, saying fans could wear it for Halloween or use it as a coaster. He even sold replica molds for $12 each. The auction ran from October 31 to November 3rd and raised money for anti-bullying groups and cancer research. The barf scene in Stand By Me became legendary, but filming it was disgusting. The pie-eating contest used exactly 5 gallons of blueberry pie filling mixed with cottage cheese. A plunger rig and vacuum hose were used to blast the mixture for the puking shots. Local Oregon residents were extras, and a bakery nearby made pies with extra filling just for the scene. It looked so real that one kid extra actually threw up for real. The Barf-O-Rama became one of the most remembered moments in film history. Filming lasted from June 17th to August 23, 1985, and Corey lived through his own coming-of-age story during those months. He went to his first nightclub, drank for the first time, and had his first kiss, all while shooting. He even made a music video with River Phoenix during that time. The boys were like real brothers. They fought about dumb things, like who got to walk down the train tracks first. Rob Reiner kept them together on purpose to build their bond. They caused chaos at the hotel too, throwing pool chairs into the water and pouring beer on Corey's clothes. But it worked. What people saw on screen was exactly how they acted off camera. The train bridge scene was no joke either. It took a full week to film. 4 small women, stunt doubles, had to run across the planks wearing boys' clothes and short hair. They laid plywood down between the tracks for safety. A brand new camera got stuck on the rails during the first take. Reiner pressured the boys by telling them if they weren't scared of the train, they should be scared of him. They used a trick with the lens to make the train look closer than it really was. The engine, McLeod Railway 25, stayed in use for tourists even as of 2016. The movie only cost around $7.5 to $8 million to make. It earned over $52 million in the US and more than $53 million worldwide. It opened on August 8, 1986, and made $242,795 in its first weekend. Later, it found big success in Australia and New Zealand. Corey was honored at the 9th Youth in Film Awards in 1987, winning the Jackie Coogan Award. But the story behind the camera wasn't all smiles. Corey later admitted the role hit too close to home. Like Teddy, his real life was full of dysfunction, especially with his mother's controlling behavior on set. When The Lost Boys started filming in 1987, Corey was only 15, but already spiraling. He showed up on day 1 coming off a cocaine binge and kept falling asleep. Director Joel Schumacher fired him. But the next day, Corey came to his door, apologized, and begged for a second chance. Schumacher took the risk and brought him back. It changed everything. Edgar Frog became iconic, but Corey had already started using marijuana on set, beginning a habit that would follow him for years. Schumacher shaped that role in a weird way. He told Corey to go home and binge-watch every Stallone and Chuck Norris movie he could find. Corey took it seriously. He turned Edgar into a kid who talked like a war veteran. That weird mix of comic book nerd and action hero gave the film its edge. Corey's lines, like, where fighters for truth, justice, and the American way became fan favorites because he delivered them like he meant every word. But those glowing vampire eyes came at a cost. In 1987, contact lenses weren't soft like today. They were made of thick glass that blocked oxygen. Actors wore them for hours, and it was torture. Their eyes dried out and burned. The tears you see in the final scenes, like when Kiefer Sutherland cries as his hand catches fire, weren't fake. They were real tears from real pain. But it gave the movie an eerie realism that no special effect could fake. By age 15, Corey had made over $1 million. But by the time he got emancipated in 1986, only $40,000 was left. His parents had drained the rest through fake contracts and so-called management fees. His father, Bob Feldman, a songwriter, and his mother, Sheila, a cocktail waitress, pushed him and his sister into showbiz just for money. Corey later said he felt like a slave child, acting in McDonald's ads at age 3 with no control over anything. Even the success of The Lost Boys couldn't protect him from that kind of betrayal. He and Corey Haim met while filming The Lost Boys, and they instantly clicked. They spent downtime making prank calls from their trailers. That bond turned into a brand. The two Coreys did 9 movies together and even had their own reality show in 2007. They became a box office machine. The Lost Boys made $32.3 million off an $8.5 million budget. But everything changed after Haim's death in March 2010. During License to Drive, 16-year-old Corey did real chase scenes on LA freeways. The budget was just $8 million, but real crashes were involved. Off camera, things were even crazier. Sam Kinison kept showing up, leading to cocaine contests between the two Coreys. Sometimes they were so high they had to snort more just to function on set. Corey's apartment turned into a party zone. The movie still pulled in $22.4 million and opened at number 6 with $385 million its first weekend. That movie also brought personal drama. Corey had a crush on Heather Graham, who was 17 at the time. They later dated. But she told a teen magazine that she didn't want to kiss Haim during filming because she thought he had a disease. That comment caused a permanent rift. In a twist, the producers of License to Drive later testified in Corey's favor during his court case against his parents. He had auditioned 4 times for the lead role, but ended up playing the wild friend instead. Dream a Little Dream came in 1989 and was one of his strangest projects. Corey played a teen whose body gets mixed up with an older man's during a failed meditation. The movie tried to mix fantasy, romance, and psychedelia. Corey had to play 2 characters in one, switching voices and personalities. He used comic books and drug trips as inspiration. Critics hated it. The plot was so confusing. Some called it the longest and most baffling body swap movie ever made. In 1990, Corey voiced Donatello in the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. He was paid just $1,500. It was considered a low-budget film, so they gave him the minimum voice actor wage. Even though it became the highest-grossing independent film at the time, he wasn't paid more. He still promoted the movie, even showing up at the premiere in turtle makeup. He voiced Donatello again in the 3rd movie, still for very little money. By then, he was using heroin, and some fans thought Donatello sounded sluggish compared to the others. By 1989 and 1990, Corey was earning about $500,000 a year, but the drugs burned through it fast. He and Haim were doing cocaine, mushrooms, and acid regularly. He entered rehab at the end of 1990 and stayed for 10 months. That's when he told his therapist the full truth about the abuse he faced as a child. She later said his behavior showed clear signs of trauma. Despite making millions as a kid, he ended up broke, betrayed, and fighting to take his life back. In August 2011, Corey Feldman sat down with ABC's Nightline and dropped a truth bomb that no one was ready for. He said it plain. The #1 problem for child actors in Hollywood wasn't drugs or fame. It was pedophiles. He was just 14 when he was molested on the set of The Lost Boys. Not by one man, not in some isolated moment. He said he was surrounded by predators. The kind of men who hosted grooming parties filled with kids aged 10 to 16. Parties where phone numbers were exchanged like currency and innocence disappeared. It would be 6 years before the Me Too movement exploded across the industry. But Feldman had already lit the match. He went as far as saying there was one man to blame for Corey Haim's death. A powerful Hollywood figure he still couldn't name without risking legal ruin. He didn't hold back. He described being touched by several hands. The patterns of abuse too structured to be coincidence. This wasn't a scandal. It was a system. Then came 2020, when Feldman released his documentary, My Truth, The Rape of Two Coreys. In it, he made the most gut-wrenching accusation of all. He claimed that Charlie Sheen, 19 at the time, raped Corey Haim, who was just 13, on the set of Lucas. This wasn't a one-time thing, Feldman said. He went into great detail. Sheen denied everything, calling it sick and twisted. But Feldman wasn't done. Back in 2017, he had already gone on the Dr. Oz show and named John Grissom as one of his abusers, even flashing his photo on screen. Grissom had acted in License to Drive and Dream a Little Dream, right alongside Feldman and Haim. Then came the bombshell. Grissom had a 2001 arrest for child molestation and a 2003 conviction. He'd failed to register as a sex offender under Megan's Law. And somehow, no one noticed until Feldman said it on national TV. But the wounds ran deeper. Feldman said his parents didn't just fail to protect him. They exploited him. At 3 years old, he was already working. By 4, his mother Sheila was bleaching his hair and giving him diet pills to make him more castable. By 15, he'd made over $1 million, and by the time he emancipated himself, it was all gone. He had to sue his own parents just to gain control of his life. In November 2017, Feldman filed a police report with the LAPD, naming names and tweeting that the investigation had begun. 2 days later, it was over. Because Feldman was 46, and in California, child sex crimes had to be prosecuted before the victim turned 40. The system that failed him as a boy failed him again as a man. In 2017, Feldman launched a crowdfunding campaign to expose everything. He asked for $10,000. He got $270,000. The internet exploded with support. 88,000 upvotes on Reddit's R News, 65,000 more on R Movies. But that's when the threats started. Feldman said 2 trucks tried to hit him in a crosswalk. He claimed his band quit under pressure. He posted videos saying people were trying to kill him. "My life has turned to utter chaos," he said, pleading online for safety. He believed his enemies were watching every move, and he wasn't sure he'd live to finish the film. When the documentary finally premiered on March 9, 2020, the worst happened. Thousands of people paid $20 to stream the film, but the site crashed at exactly 8:01 p.m. The theater premiere at the Directors Guild in LA stopped 10 minutes in. Feldman blamed hackers. He stood up in front of the crowd and said someone didn't want the film to be seen. He'd spent $300,000 on production, paid $1 million in insurance deductibles, and shelled out $400,000 in extra costs. Now it was all burning. He tweeted in all caps, swearing everyone would see the film, even if he had to mail them DVDs himself. The stream finally worked the next day, at 3 p.m. This wasn't the first time someone tried to silence him. Back in 2013, Feldman wrote a memoir called Choreography. It was raw, disturbing, and censored. His publishers forced him to change the names. Lawyers told him it was too dangerous to print the full truth. Even his 2018 film, A Tale of Two Coreys, had to rename the abusers. Feldman said he wrote it all down, exactly how it happened. But nobody in the industry wanted to touch it. That censorship is what pushed him to fund the documentary himself. "I'm taking the matter into my own hands," he said. But even that didn't stop the spiral. In September 1990, Feldman's heroin addiction caught up with him. Police found him in a BMW with heroin in his socks. Just 6 months earlier, officers had caught him with 25 balloons of heroin and cocaine during a traffic stop. This was the same Feldman who had toured with Just Say No, who was starring in an anti-drug video. He spent 5 hours in Van Nuys jail, posted $5,000 bail, and another $729 for traffic warrants. It was the second arrest that year, and it wouldn't be the last time his past bled into his future. In 1995, Feldman formed an unlikely bond with Michael Jackson. They met through Elizabeth Taylor. He spent weekends at Neverland Ranch playing video games. He described Jackson as a father figure. He defended him during the 2003 trials. But then came the morning of 9/11. Feldman said Jackson received warning calls from Saudi friends before the towers fell. He ran down hotel hallways yelling for everyone to evacuate. Feldman helped get Elizabeth Taylor out of the city. But even this friendship stirred questions. What really happened during those weekends at Neverland? Feldman insisted nothing inappropriate ever happened. Still, it followed him. In 2018, things got darker. Feldman was investigated for sexual battery. The accusers later recanted, but by 2020, 8 former members of his group, Corey's Angels, accused him of abuse and harassment. SAG-AFTRA kicked him off the Sexual Harassment Committee. The allegations included names like Jacqueline von Riuden, Hoena Sudderth, and Margot Lane. The LAPD received formal complaints. Investigations were opened. Feldman stepped down voluntarily, but his credibility took a hit. The same man who had built a career exposing predators was now under scrutiny himself. Then came the financial collapse. When Feldman divorced his wife Courtney in 2024, court records showed he had just $34,000 in savings and $192,000 owed to the IRS. He owed $42,000 on credit cards. He was spending $16,599 a month, but making just $2,536. His monthly costs included $5,000 for healthcare, $2,000 each on groceries and dining, $1,000 on laundry, and $1,500 on his car. Courtney said he actually made $280,000 a month and wasn't paying his band. She wanted $5,000 a month in support. The court settled on $3,500, but Feldman's total income for 2023, just 78,946 hours. The downward spiral kept spinning. In 2018, he filed for restraining orders against stalkers sending death threats. One person tweeted that they wanted to see him gang-raped in prison. The LAPD's Threat Management Unit took it seriously. He checked into rehab again. He had already done a long stint in 2008 and stayed clean for 3 years, but relapsed in 2019. He's now reportedly been sober over 25 years in total, though that number includes multiple relapses. In one infamous moment, he claimed he was stabbed in an assassination attempt. Police found no evidence. He refused to show his wounds. He said the attack was linked to his abuse documentary. No one was arrested. Despite everything, Feldman kept performing. He released his first album, Former Child Actor, in 2002. In 2023, at 52, he was touring again with his band Truth Movement. Divorce documents revealed that he earns $35,000 per fan convention appearance, doing 3 to 6 a year. That's $105,000 to $210,000 annually, before taxes and expenses. His shows mix 80s nostalgia with songs like Go For It, which blend pop with anti-abuse messages. His albums include Angelic 2, The Core, and other collaborations. The reviews are mixed. but he keeps singing. One thing did change. California passed Assembly Bill 2189, extending the statute of limitations for childhood sexual abuse from age 26 to 40. It also created a 3-year window for old cases to be filed. Feldman helped push the bill through. He flew to Sacramento. He met lawmakers, and he celebrated when it passed. "Now we can bring our abusers to justice," he said. For him, it was too late, but for others, it opened a door. Still, the numbers tell the real story. He's been in over 80 films, but by 2024, he had only $34,000 in the bank. He owed nearly $200,000 in back taxes. His monthly expenses were over $16,800. His 22-23 income was under $80,000. In 1986, at 15, his net worth peaked at $1 million, around $3 million today. But by the time he legally freed himself from his parents, he had just $40,000 left. The residuals from The Goonies and The Lost Boys, practically nothing. In 2025, Feldman continues speaking out. He's active on Cameo. He says he's open to joining the Goonies sequel, but hasn't been contacted. He works closely with Elijah Wood on abuse advocacy. Wood, who sparked headlines in 2016 with comments about Hollywood predators, now stands beside him on panels. They speak to schools, appear in PSAs, and warn parents about online predators. Feldman still posts on social media, still gives interviews, still tries to name the names when he feels legally safe.